Hello everyone. Today is the 8th day of training. So let us see the first question. Explain with example different high-level points with which we write in a test plan. So before that, we shall see what is a test plan. So test plan is nothing but it is a detailed document where you describe all the things which is having the objectives, strategies, schedules, estimations, all those things which is put together to perform a testing for a software product which is you are going to build for the user or for the client. So this is the test plan. Next thing is why we need test plan. So test plan is like it is a blueprint to conduct the software testing activities in a proper manner so as to execute in a perfect manner so as to have a controlled output of the product. So this is why we need the test plan. Now let us see the test planning activities. So there are many test planning activities out there. So these are the main test planning activities which are essential and it is very required. The first one is analyze the product. Before accepting any product from the client, we have to analyze the product on what product we are working on what product we are testing. So first, we have to get to know that who will use the product. For example, here we are using a website, which is a banking website. I have taken it as an example. So our client is having a banking website. So that website, we have to test it. So in order to test that website, we have to consider that who is going to use that website, whether the website is used by the client or by the users or by the customers or by the admins. So we have to list out all those things. Next thing is what is it used for? Whether it is used for the commercial purpose, whether it is used for the private purpose, whether it is used for both the private and commercial. We have to list out that. We have to analyze the things and also how will it work. So whether it will be working on which platform, whether the mobile platform or web platform. So there are different platforms are there. So different platforms needs different requirements. So we have to list out those requirements also. And also what are the software and hardware product uses. So in order to build this product, so usually there are many kinds of software and hardware products are used. So in order to check that product, we need to consider some different specifications of software and hardware product also. So if we have to communicate constantly with the clients, so we can analyze the product and also we can have the queries with them if in case we missed out some points. So this is about analyzing the product. Next thing is design test strategy. So design test strategy will be having many kinds. So here are the few I have listed out here. The first one is the scope of testing. So before going to the scope of testing, first we shall understand what is the scope in testing. So the scope considers to be as, for example, if the user wants to test functional testing, so user doesn't want to have a non-functional testing such as security testing and different kinds of testing. So we have to consider the scope of the particular identified by the user. So here we have in scope and out of scope. So in scope is considered as the perspective of the user where user have given the inputs where we have to specifically test only the particular kind of test. For example, user has specified only the functional testing and basic testing. So we have to consider it as an in scope. If the user is not specified about the non-functional test like security test, load test, or smoke test, or anything other than that. So we have to consider all those things as an out of scope. So if you always go with the out of scope testing, so that may increase the cost. So we have to be specific with the client's perspective also. Next, we have to identify the testing type. So there are numerous number of testing types are there. So each testing type requires specific requirements of the product development or product testing. So we have a unit test. So that unit test is each component is tested in a unit type. So where different components of the testings are integrated or different models are integrated and it is tested, that is integrated testing. So we have different kinds of testings are there. System testing, smoke testing, agile methodology or load testing, stress testing, etc. etc. So in all these testings, we have to keep in mind of which testing we have to be deployed for the particular project. So with the client communication, so we cannot do the overall unnecessary testings. So it costs the company and also increases the manpower. So we have to mainly identify the type of testing we have to conduct for the particular project. This is a kind of planning. So this is also an identity, identifying the testing type of planning. Next, we shall see the document risks and issues. For example, we have risk and issues in every company. So risk will be always followed. So whenever there is a risk, that will be the issue. So we have to be always ready to face with the issues and also the risk. So the first one here is lack the required skills. For example, if an employee which is having a lack of skills which is required for the testing process. So this is also a risk involved in hiring an employee for the particular task or particular project. So this, in order to tackle this, we have to earlier itself we have to give the training for the particular person or particular employee in order to avoid this kind of risk. Next, there is a project schedule is too tight. Sometimes the project schedule will be of less time. So if the project schedule is will be of too high, sorry, too tight. So we have to consider this as a fatal. So in order to overcome this, we have to initially itself we have to schedule the project according to the product testing itself. Next one is lack of cooperation affects your employees. So when there is a lack of cooperation between the employees or the team, so there will be a lack of incompetence between the team management. So if the team management doesn't work, the project stops itself there. So we have to constantly maintain the employees relationship and also we have to motivate them constantly. So if there is a wrong budget estimate, so sometimes there is a wrong things happens with the employees also or with any personnel. So the wrong budget estimates leads to the project's failure. So in order to overcome this, we have to estimate the budget of the project and we have to constantly communicate with the user or the client in order to have a budget estimate. So these are the risks involved in this planning. So next one is create test logistics. So test logistics usually will be created by the manager or the test engineer team leader. So here who will test the product? So this is the main question when it comes to the testing of a particular product. So in order to test the particular product, the team manager will employ the particular test engineer based on his skill, based on his experience. He will be handled to the particular team for the particular task. So when will be the test occur? So the test occurs basically when all the resources are completed. That means that test specifications and requirement SRS document, those things will be initially procured. So after that, the human resource will be managed and then the test environment is created. So we shall talk about the test environment later topic. So all these things are merged and all these things are created together with the perfect balance. Then the test is ready. The next thing is define test objectives. So the test objectives is nothing but it is a thing where it's a thing or a goal of a particular testing. So where all the testings are conducted to employ that, there will be a free of bug. Also, there will be a defect-free software. So the main aim or objective of any testing is to free from the bug and also to have a defect-free software. Next thing is define test criteria. So the criteria in terms of testing is nothing but judgment. So when you are judging something which the testing is correct or not, we have some criteria. The first criteria is suspension criteria. The suspension criteria is nothing but if you put the criteria for 20%, then for if the test cases fails for that 20%, we have to stop the or we have to suspend the testing. So let's take an example here. So define suspension criteria. So in this, we will define the around 20% of around 20% of criteria. So after the test cases are executed, so when you execute the test cases, if 20% of the test cases fails, so that means suspension criteria is met. If the suspension criteria is met, if it is yes, then this we have to suspend the testing. So once the testing is suspended, the respective developer will fix the failed cases. So the developer has to fix the failed cases. So until then, there will be no testing is conducted. Once the developer fix all those failed cases, again the testing starts. So once the testing starts, if the suspension criteria is not met or which is less than 20% of the criteria, for example, the less than 20% of the criteria which is not met, then then we have to conduct the ongoing testing or that is finish the testing. So this is about the suspension criteria. There is one more criteria. So this one we shall see one by one. So this one is the exit criteria. So exit criteria is also an important criteria where we play with the numbers here. So exit criteria, there are two kinds, that is run rate and pass rate. So first we shall see that run rate. Run rate is the ratio of number of test cases executed to the total test cases. So for example, if you take number of test cases executed are 100 and the total number of test cases which are given to the particular plan is 120. So the run rate will be about 83%. So that 83% is less when compared. So always the run rate should be mandatorily 100%. So the 100% run rate should be mandated because if a tester should always test all the cases. If it is 120 total number of test cases, he has to execute all the number of 120 test cases itself. Next, there is a pass rate. This is a different one. So here the pass cases will have number of test cases executed to the ratio of test cases executed. So here, suppose there is a number of test cases executed are 80 to the test cases executed are 100. So that will be of 80% pass rate. So this is how the 80% pass rate is nominal with respect to the client side. If the client set or the manager set for the 80% pass rate, that would be the passing rate for the exit criteria. And the passing rate is 80% or depends on the percentage, the exit criteria is met. Next thing is resource planning. So resource planning is one of the important thing in project maintaining or project running. So when you are planning the resources, we have to consider two types of resources, that is human resource and system resource. So when it comes to human resource, we have to plan according to the hierarchy, that is who is going to test or who is going to lead. So we need a test engineer, we need a test admin, we need a test manager, And also we need some human resources to maintain the client side, to maintain the server side, all those things. And the next thing is system resource. When it comes to the system resource, we have a lot of things to consider. The first one is user. So whether the user needs different kinds of platform, or user will be having different kinds of environment to test. For example, if there is a Selenium platform, so how the user will be executed, all those things. After that, we need to consider with the internet. So what kind of broadband will be available? What kind of internet is available when it comes to the user and also to the client side. After that, we need to have a look upon the server side. So what kind of server we have to maintain, what kind of server the user or the client needed, and also the database required. So also we have to list out the database which is required for the particular project. Like there are relational database and non-relational databases. Based on the requirement and based on the client needs, we have to choose the particular kind of database here. So these are the overall resources we have to plan accordingly. Next, we shall see plan test environment. So here, before going to that, let us see what is the test environment first. So the test environment is nothing but where the overall project or overall system, software or hardware, which is laid upon, so on which we are going to work. So the test environment maybe are having systems, hardware and software components. Software software components will be having Selenium Python, or Selenium Python, that is automation, that is, or Jira, manual testing environments, like the different kinds of softwares. All those things are called as test environment. We have to consider all those things. And also we have to consider the server side, database side, and we have to test accordingly, whether we have to test it on system requirements, or whether we have to test it on client side or the user side. We have to plan according to this. Next thing is how to set up the test environment. So all these things we have to consider before setting itself. We have to need to know how the test environment will be. After knowing all these things, we can set up the test environment based on the client's needs. Next one is schedule and estimation. So estimation is nothing but we are going to estimate how long the project will going to take. So we have to estimate accordingly that how long we can take this project, how long the project will cost. So on human resources, the project can be finished earlier. On what human resources, the project can be paid up. So these are the estimation we have to consider before planning it. Next one is the schedule. Schedule is the important thing in project planning or a project maintenance. So here the software testing schedule will be having for 1 month. So let us take an example for 1 month here. So in 1 month, making the test specification will be having 5 days in a week. So after that, making test specifications, we shall move to the we are going to move to the perform test execution here. So test execution requires more time. So it is around having 7 to 8 days. So after that, we need to analyze the test report. So that test report will be analyzed and test report will be maintained, and then it is given to the test delivery. So where the test delivery will be having different kinds of procedures. So with that, there is a different kinds of schedules are maintained here. So with this schedule, one can do the ongoing project, or one can maintain the project, so that you can have a good time of scheduling for the project, and also we can uh, give the project delivery at the right time for the client. This is about schedule and estimation. Next one is determine test deliverables. So let us see what is test deliverables. So test deliverables are nothing but a specific kind of documents which are maintained during the test process. So during the test process, we have maintained different kinds of test documents. First, we shall see the before testing documents. So before testing, we have made test plans documents, test cases documents, so design specifications, SRS documents. All these are called as before testing phase. After that, we have made during the testing phase. So during testing, we have got testing scripts. We have got test data. During testing, we got the results of logs or data logs or bugs, etc. So after testing the data, we will get the test results. This is very important, and also the test reports. So this will be having the different kinds of defect report, also bug report also. After that, we have release notes. So these are all the main documents which are deliverables. So this should be planned accordingly. So these are all the overall things where the test planning is included. Now we should see the next question. So explain the boundary value analysis with the help of an example. So the boundary value analysis is nothing but where the input values near the boundary are having the highest chance of error. Here nothing but, so when you are taking the valid test cases around from 18 to 30, so these are the valid test cases. So so near the boundary of 18 to 30, there are 17 and 31. So this will produce the highest number of defect or the error. So this is about the boundary value analysis. In the boundary value analysis, we take the valid partition, that is valid partition. We take the partitions, that is valid partition and invalid partitions. So both will have the different kinds of scenarios here. So now let us see an example. So in this, we have valid partition from 18 to 30. Apart from that, so all the things, all the remaining numbers are invalid partition. So we test only on the 18 to 30 cases here. All the 18 to 30 cases, that is valid partitions, are valid test cases. So apart from any number which is entered from 12, 13, 14, all these things are invalid numbers. So this is the boundary value analysis. So the boundary value analysis is mainly done because to reduce the test cases from an infinite to finite. So usually if you want to write the test cases for all these numbers, it requires lot of lines, lot of test cases. So in order to reduce that, we use the boundary value analysis. Now let us take an example, that is consider a system that accepts ages from 18 to 56. Here we can take boundary value analysis as 18 to 56. Apart from 18 to 26, everything is invalid. So here in the valid 18 to 56, we have a nominal value. So after that, we have a minimum and greater than minimum, and we have maximum lesser than maximum number here. So apart from anything which is valid number from 18 to 56, if you enter, if you have 17 and 57, any number if you enter apart from this valid number, that will be considered as invalid. So this is very easy to make a test case where using the boundary value analysis, the test cases can be reduced. So, and also the boundary value analysis will have a disadvantage. The main disadvantage is if you take a Boolean value, or suddenly if you take some other kind of examples, other kind of numbers, so you can get the error. So that is the main disadvantage there. Now we shall see the next question. Explain equivalence partitioning with the help of an example. So equivalence partition is nothing but, so the partitioning is done in this concept. So where all the partitioning must be having a minimum and different kinds of values here. So input is divided into the partitioning, where the partitioning will have a valid partitioning and also the invalid partitioning. So let us take an example here. So in this example, if we take the OTP number that is 6 digits, so we have to enter the 6-digit OTP number here. So apart from 6-digit OTP number, all other digits which is less than or equal to 5 and also which is greater than or equal to 7 will be invalid. So only it requires only 3 test cases here. So if we don't use this equivalent partitioning, there will be a huge test cases have to be written. So in order to avoid that, equivalence partitioning is used here. So it reduces the number of test cases. Also, it makes the complex problem in a simple manner. Now we shall see another example. Here, if we take in another example in the online shopping page, there are different kinds of product ID 1479. So one is phone cover, 4 is earphone, 7 is charger, 9 is screen guard. So you have to enter only the 1479 IDs. So if you enter any number that is ranges from 5 or different number, it is an invalid partition or it is an invalid. So if you again if you enter anything which is having alphabetical, so that is if you enter any uh, phone charge, the earphones, if you enter earphones in the product ID, that is also an error. So because the product ID should be only contained 1478, so which is a valid partitioning is done by the equivalence partitioning. So this is the main advantage here. There will be a less number of test cases will be written and also the complex problem will be solved, break down to the normal, so a simple problem. Now we shall see the next question. So explain the difference between smoke and sanity testing with an example. So before going to the smoke or sanity testing, let us see what is build. Build is nothing but a software product which is built after the product or after the script is written. So build where you can have different kinds of bugs will be there. So build is having both functionality. So build is nothing but which is perfectly fine for functioning, but it contains the bug. So on this build, we are going to test the smoke testing. So after that, we shall see what is release. Release is nothing but a complete software which is released to the user or to the or given to the client. Now we shall see the smoke testing. So smoke testing is basically built on the initial builds. So build is nothing but a software which is having functioning, but it is having a bug. So in the smoke testing, we only test for the basic and critical functioning. If the basic and critical functioning is tested okay, then it is passed for the further tests. So if it is not, it is rejected. Next thing is sanity testing. Sanity testing is the later part where stable builds are built. So after the smoke testing is done, those builds are given to the sanity testing. So here the sanity testings are done for the various level, various different kinds of testings like regression is done, regression testing is done. So these are the things we use in the sanity testings. Here also, if there is a builds are rejected over here, and also the sanity if the sanity testing is passed and it is passed for the further tests like load testing, stress testing, etc. Now we shall see the difference between smoke testing and the sanity testing. So smoke testing is like testing on a software where which is working fine or not. We have to check only the functionality. So when it comes to sanity, we have to check whether the bugs have been fixed or not. And the smoke testing is also known as acceptance testing. And sanity testing is also known as regression testing, where regression is done. That is testing again and again. Smoke testing is documented one, and sanity testing is not documented. Smoke testing is by developed either by developers or by testers. So smoke testing can be tested in sanity only by the testers. So smoke testing sometimes may be stable or sometimes may be unstable, but sanity testing is always stable. So smoke testing can be done both manually and also using automation, whereas sanity testing is executed only on manually. So smoke testing is usually built on the initial builds itself. So sanity testing is done only on the stable builds only. So smoke testing for every new build, for every initial build, smoke testing is carried out. So whereas in sanity testing, whenever you want the in-depth build or whenever you want the in-depth testing, so there when you have a short period of time for testing, there the sanity testing is conducted. So these are the questions in the day training today we have learned today. So this is all about today's training. Thank you. Please review the video.